Welcome to the SMB Community Podcast with hosts Amy Babinchek, James Kernan, and Carl Polachek. Produced by Kernan Consulting and for the international MSP community. We are dedicated to making every IT professional a successful IT professional.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the SMB Community Podcast with Amy Babinchek and James Kernan. Hey, James.
Hey, Amy. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. I know you're tired, so I'm going to do all the talking today because James has been hard at work with his community group, meeting in person and having a great event at the Total headquarters. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. And yes, I am exhausted. Got back this week weekend and had a busy weekend. But yeah, I'm wiped out from last week. It was a lot of fun.
All right, I will take up the mantle here. We got some cool things to talk about. Let's start with the MSP Question of the Week. We're just going to dive right into the real serious stuff. And so the question is, what do I do if the customer won't take my proposal or the recommendation that I've made to them? Man, this is a problem that MSPs run into every single day, right?
Exactly.
With existing customers or with potential customers. It's tough, right? This is a customer relations issue. The real solution to this, I think, is to try to ferret out from them why they're rejecting your proposal.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go with. And I'm glad you said that, because I bet if we ask other channel consultants, they would just say, walk away,
Or lower your price, right? Offer them 20% off for if they pay up front. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, find out why.
I know why. Totally. This is a customer relations issue, right? It could be they don't trust you, right? They have some level of uncertainty about it. It's possible that it's too expensive, but more likely is the uncertainty around it, right? Do I really need to do this? Is this an actual concern for my business, or are you just trying to sell me the latest shiny thing that you're interested in that I'm not really interested in, right? Customers have that sort of level of what do I want to call that? They're just a little leery about maybe buying things if they feel that they're being sold something. And so the trick with when a customer rejects your proposal is to find out why. Sit down and talk about it. There's something about it that they don't understand why they need it or why you're recommending it.
Right. Yeah, and this has come up so much in our peer groups. We talk about this all the time. We actually have a denial of services template letter. If anybody wants a copy of that, I'll explain how to use it. But it's a simple one-page denial of services letter, and it's really written blaming your cybersecurity insurance carrier, that this is your responsibility as a consultant to give security recommendations. And if a prospect or a customer decides not to do that, then they have to sign off that they were given the option for these services and they declined them. And and it says in that letter that our cybersecurity insurance carrier requires this. But what we found is, you can call it a little bit of a sales technique, because nobody's ever really battled this in court, and I don't think it would hold up anyway, but I think it's a helpful sales tool that the customer a lot of times go, hey, wait a minute, you want me to sign off that I'm responsible for this now? Well, let's sit back down and talk about this. Why do I need this again? How much is this going to cost? And it forces that conversation that Amy was just talking about to start with in the first place. Normally there's a disconnect, maybe lack of trust, maybe they can't afford it. Okay, that could be it too. But find out why, And I do like using that denial of services letter because it's very helpful, and it will stimulate that conversation.
It does, but and I've used it. We used it a few years ago when MFA was coming to the fore, and it really everybody needed to start using it, and they need to start using it now. And we had a couple of customers balk. Most of them all just went along for the ride and said, "Okay, yep, we know we need to do this." A couple of them walked, and I had to present them with that denial letter because the risk was so great, right? It was like, I can reduce your hacking potential by 95%. And if we don't do this, things are getting really bad out there, and we're not going to be able to protect you. So I asked them to sign off on it. Ultimately, that did spark the conversation deeper, and they decided to go with the MFA.
Yeah.
So you can change it around. I would be very cautious about using it, though. You don't want to trot it out on every sales deal just because they didn't buy it today. There are other techniques to use, right? You need to exhaust all the other techniques first before you get to that denial of service letter.
Right.
So you need to talk to them about paying for the project over time if it's a project thing. You need to talk to them about the likelihood of, being hacked by somebody if we don't implement this cybersecurity feature that you're offering.
Right.
Or you need to, talk to them about the importance of user training, right? Because the users are the first line of defense against phishing. And if you've identified that, hey, your users, they're just clicking on phishing stuff and they don't really understand how to do it, we need to hold this training. If they're denying that, they need to understand why and how important it is to their business. So,
yeah,
the answer here is really focus on the why. Don't focus on the price, but you might offer to split it up, but don't offer to reduce it because to me, and we've talked about this before, maybe even in the previous episode, about how that reduced the level of trust in the proposal that you gave them. If you offer to reduce your price, come back in.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, oh, yeah, I'm willing to gouge you 20% less if you sign today, right? That's kind of the message you're putting out there. That's not where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you diminish that trust, and you diminish the value of what we're doing. And, so I agree. I think that's super critical. Hey, I know we had a couple other news articles we wanted to talk about, but I'm excited to share. I had a really good interview with Tim Fitzpatrick of Rialto Marketing. So he's going to be our 5 Minutes with a Smart Person this week. Tim Fitzpatrick, Rialto Marketing. We're going to talk about marketing trends, what's working, what's not, and so forth. So check that out.
Yeah, I was on Tim's podcast a year or so ago, and I think I'm going to be on it again here pretty soon. We haven't locked in a date yet. Tim's such a high energy guy. And so, that'll be fun conversation that we've got here coming up.
Hey, I'm excited to have Tim back on the program because we've got an exciting topic to talk about today, and it's really about differentiation in a crowded market. Okay, how to make your business stand out. And since Tim's a digital marketing guru, and his firm, Rialto Marketing, really specializes in building marketing engines, he's the guy to talk to. So here we go. So when you think about or you work with a client, you want to help them differentiate in a crowded market. What does that mean to you, Tim?
It's, to me, it means being different, right? A lot of MSPs, other B2B companies, standing out from the competition is no easy feat.
Right.
And oftentimes what happens is we're blending in with the competition and we're unsure of what really sets us apart. And the truth with differentiation is it's not one single thing that's going to make you stand out. It is a well-crafted blend that's going to secure your place in the market. And so we need to focus on multiple things that lay that foundation for you to stand out. Because when we stand out, we become the only logical decision. when we don't, we look the same. And what happens when we look the same? Prospects have no choice but to default back to price, and we end up competing on price, which is a horrible place to be.
Yeah. You guys, I want to highlight something Tim just said there, because it's super important. A lot of the programs that I work with, revenue generating programs, number one, you need to have a marketing plan. Okay, that's part one, to get everybody marketing. But effective marketing will make your business stand out. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you stand out in a crowded market? And you could sign up with some marketing program and be one of 1,000 MSPs sending out the same aspirin campaign letter to everybody else in your marketplace. You'll just get laughed at. Okay. But you need to stand out and differentiate yourself, because the reality is people do business with people. And so we're going to dissect this a little bit about how to differentiate yourself. So let's kind of dig into that. I know you've got kind of 4 key parts of differentiation. Let's kind of dig into that.
Yeah. And so the 4 we're going to touch on today, there's many ways you can differentiate. These, I think, are the simplest and the easiest place to start to build that foundation. And the first one is your core message. Mm-hmm. Right? Your core message it's that marketing message that you're going to use to clearly communicate the benefit of doing business with you. It's short, sweet, and to the point. It's not a paragraph. It is a 1-sentence statement.
Yeah, it's like your elevator pitch, right?
Yeah, it's even shorter than your elevator pitch. So If we think about it, like, here's some of the brainstorming questions that I like to ask people to start to get those creative juices flowing, right? One is like, what makes you different from your competitors? Mm-hmm. Is there a promise that you can make that will solve your client's problems? Is there a core problem that you are solving for, right? That you could talk about, or why should your clients choose you over anybody else?
Right.
So, let me give an example. And I'm going to take an example outside of the MSP space, because I think sometimes it's hard to think objectively about our own industries at times.
True.
But I worked with a residential siding and roofing contractor. Oh, this was a long time ago. This is probably 6-7 years ago. But that industry is not all that much different than the MSP space, where, you go to 5 websites, they all say pretty much the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to make sure these guys stood out. And one of the things we did in that process is we started reading their reviews. They had a ton of online Google reviews. And one of the women in there said, gosh, the thing I loved about these guys was they treated my house like it was their own. When we buy from anybody, right, we expect high quality, right? We expect, good materials, right? That's table stakes. Like that, talking about that doesn't differentiate. Those are expectations that we already have as buyers. Mm-hmm. But what happens when you have a new roof? If any of you have put on a new roof anytime recently, stuff is all over the place. There are roofing nails all over the place. There are cut shingles all over the place. If they don't do a good job cleaning up, you'll find roofing nails in your yard for years.
Yeah.
So when they go to this client's site and now see we treat your house like it's our own, that's a promise that they are making to that client. It immediately grabs their attention, right? Does it answer all of their questions? No, that's not the job of a core message. A core message is to grab their attention so that they want to get more information, mm-hmm. right? Continue to scroll down the rest of your webpage, right? Or read the rest of your email or wherever you're using it. It's just to grab their attention and help differentiate. That's what your core message is for.
I like that. That's good. Okay, so that was the first one.
Yep. Next one is your proven process.
Okay.
So what is that proven process that you use to take clients from where they currently are to where they want to be, right? And get that consistent outcome each and every time. Most MSPs have a process they follow, right? They're not winging it, every time they onboard a client. But what most of them don't do is actually define that process and talk about that process in their marketing.
That's a great point. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So if we can look at what those high level steps, right? Because as an MSP, gosh, there's so many different steps in onboarding. There's so many different things that go into your tech stack that you're doing. But most of your clients don't care about all those steps, right? And if you talk about all those steps, it's going to confuse them. So think about those 5 to 7 steps that you take at a high level from beginning to end to get that result. You can, I've had clients, use acronyms to define their proven process. You don't have to do that, but you can name it.
Yep.
And then, each step is a single word. And then if you want to expand upon it and define more deeply what's going on in that step, then you can do that. But that is when you have defined your proven process, that is something you can use on the homepage of your website. You can use it in your sales slide decks, your sales presentations. And that helps differentiate. Because the other thing that does when you talk about it is it helps people feel safe.
Yeah, they know what to expect.
They know what to expect.
They know what's coming. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that.
There's a couple of news items I wanted just to make everybody aware of real quick. The first one is Governor Newsom rejected, by that I mean vetoed, the California AI safety regulation that was out there. So a legislator approved it, got to his desk, he vetoed it. He got a lot of pressure from all of the major AI producers, Microsoft, NVIDIA, OpenAI, to Twitter's, what do they call that, Grok. All of them came down and said, this is not the right way to do it. Now, they have put together a coalition, and they're going to come back with a different proposal. Then they're going to, involve these companies to do it. So the real point here is the people of California want the AIs, the companies that make AIs, to be responsible for those AIs. Not just turn them out into the world and say, oh, well, they'll do what they do. They want some level of responsibility there. And so that's the whole point of trying to come up with that regulation. And this is a regulation where it won't end up just affecting California, right? If these companies have to act in a different way and accept liabilities for their AI, that actually is going to spread across the whole country. So that's why you're seeing a really big interest from these AI developers, and I'm sure they're very, very happy today that they got that veto.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting how this plays out. I just think it's the first of many other regulations coming out. They're trying to sculpt what we can and can't do with AI. So that's interesting.
Yeah. The second article, James, is one that what you pointed out over on CNBC. They've got an article about the security of airport Wi-Fi again, right?
Yeah.
It's the same message, right? There are bad people out there trying to spoof you into using an airport Wi-Fi that isn't the actual airport Wi-Fi. And it's gotten worse, I think, is kind of what the message is.
Yeah. And it, like we all know, the safest way to connect to the internet would be through, VPN or your own personal hotspot. So that's what we want to do.
So that's kind of a perennial thing. That would be a great message actually to send out to your clients today. So if you want to do something good for your customers, remind them about airport Wi-Fi. It's always good to have those conversations with your clients. So that would be a good one to just shoot them out an email and give them that reminder today. And that helps build that trust that we were talking about earlier. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We've got a short episode today, but thanks for your time and attention. And we will see you guys next week.